Hello everyone, Lytro Storm here, and today we are back with the third episode of Post-Mortem. This is a series where I look back at my past what-ifs and address comments so as to provide more insight into the decisions made within the stories and make alterations to anything that needs changing. Today we'll be looking at What If Carver Found Clementine, which was originally posted on Lytro Storm channel, but was re-uploaded the following month on May 13th, 2021. This series followed an alternate turn of events in Season 2, in which instead of Luke and Pete finding Clementine, it was Carver. She would then be indoctrinated into House and grow closer to Carver over time, causing a rift between the group. And it really just ended up giving us a darker version of Clementine, and questioned whether or not she could escape from her past mistakes. But I highly recommend you definitely go check out that video and that series, because it'll be integral to understanding this video. The link will be in the description and comments section. But for now, let's get on with the questions. Alright, number 1. Clem would probably side with Kenny. I don't think she'd side with the guy she knew for a few days against the guy who was her father figure's best friend and whose son was her best friend. So I think the issue here is that Kenny's stature in relation to Clementine is kind of being over-exaggerated. She spent maybe 5 months with Kenny, but during that time, they hardly ever interacted on screen. In canon, Clementine had choices that could make it clear she understood Carver's view of the world and people. And this was even when she knew the cabin and ski lodge groups before Carver and knowing how he treated them beforehand. So to imagine Clem, for the first time in 2 years, presented with walls, food, supplies, a stable life, people, and say she'd for sure give it up because of a guy who was friends with her father figure, I just don't believe it. Especially when Kenny's relationship with Lee could totally be tumultuous depending on your choices. Now, it's totally possible she chooses Kenny and the others, which I represented in the video because Clementine has those choices, but I think there's a good chance she could pick Carver given the circumstances. At the very least, I find it way more believable she'd side with Carver than she would in the original Season 2, because Carver kind of tried to, get close to her, and she was just already way aligned with the group, and it's just, obviously that was never going to happen. Number 2, the comment I just talked about got a reply suggesting this could be the universe where Lee and Kenny didn't like each other, and like I said earlier, I think in that universe that would even work better, because maybe Clementine has some sort of disdain for Kenny in that version. And they basically just said that it would work well in that confine, which I agree with. Number 3, some people thought the video topic was Carver finding Clementine before Lee, so in Season 1. The issue with that is that it would place Carver in Georgia instead of Tennessee, or Clementine in Tennessee instead of Georgia. I think that could work as a what if, maybe in the future, but that's not what I was going for, obviously, as you might have noticed. Maybe one day we'll cover that, but I doubt anytime soon. Alright, number 4, this comment is kind of like a rapid fire one because they have a few different questions. Why is Clementine trying to escape? I like to imagine that Lee's morality, or lack thereof, would have influenced Clem to be better in the future. So seeing how Carver treats these people and their history, as well as knowing Kenny beforehand, would be key factors in her choice to help them or not. Doesn't Clementine get her own room? Yeah, probably, though maybe Carver would want her to stay with them to see where she could be if she tries to revolt. We know he kinda did a similar thing to Reggie before. Bonnie not getting mad at Clem is questionable in this what if, since she got mad at Clem about Luke in the original game. Now in this version, Bonnie was originally mad about this, but I think she would move past it after enough time has passed. I will admit that this is mostly just my own intuition, and I could see Bonnie being hurt by this long term and holding a grudge. But I don't think her initial shock and dislike of Clementine because of Luke's death, just literally in the same day, and then completely disappearing from the story, I don't think that's a good representation of how she would be years later. This comment also had a section addressing what a few different people said, which was that, Telltale would never actually do this type of choice, since it actually made changes that substantially alter the game. And my reply to this is, while yes, Telltale would not have a choice in Season 2 that dramatically alters Season 3 or 4, I don't think that matters too much. Obviously, it has negative effects like Kenny, Jane, and Wellington being taken out of the picture in flashbacks, but saying Telltale's choices don't matter really does a disservice to their work. I don't really want to have such a popular talking point that is wrong perpetuated within my community, so definitely make sure you check out The Importance of Choice in Telltale's The Walking Dead, which I just recently posted not that long ago. And for those of you who have seen that video or are about to watch it, get hyped because I am working on a sequel discussing how the choices matter in Season 2, or whether or not they do. Number 5, I wonder if going back to the boat to join the Delta would result in Minnie becoming available as a possible partner for Clementine. I totally think this is possible, and I'd enjoy adding more of a story and character to Minnie and Clementine in this version of events. I think that would be super cool. Alright, number 6, this is another comment with a few different topics. The first one essentially boils down to AJ not having enough of a connection to Carver, even though AJ has been raised by him his entire life. I totally agree, and I think that could have been a good source of conflict to touch upon. I was a decent bit younger when writing that story, so there are definitely things I'd improve upon writing it in the modern day. In regards to the second part of the comment about including Javi's family in the group Kenny was in, I just don't see that as being realistic. And the next part of the comment is about Abel and how I said he might be the strongest guy in the games. I don't really agree with that anymore, but the commenter does have a few things wrong, so I'll still correct them. For one, Abel didn't lose to Clementine in a fight twice. The first time they interacted, Clem shoved him out of a window, which he didn't expect, and they didn't fight. That doesn't make him weaker than her. It just means she caught him off guard. When they actually fought at the school, Abel was able to completely overpower and hold Clementine down while gasping for breath, likely due to the smoke from all the fire. And this is also while he's monologuing about Clementine being weak. I mean, the guy's first attack was to try and reach for Clem with one hand. He was not taking her seriously at all. He got beaten, stabbed in the foot, shoved out of a tall building, wrecking his legs. And with this, he was able to continue attacking Clementine, needing Rosie to maul him to stop his assault. So yeah, I do still think Abel is pretty impressive, and he'd hold back a lot less on some bigger, possibly stronger dudes like Kenny or Luke. I just don't see his fight with Clementine being representative of how he would treat someone he thinks is an equal. The last part of the comment refers to Clementine being able to convince Minnie to rebel, which I do personally feel like I chose the wrong path there. Minerva was way more loyal to Lily than I remembered at this point when writing, so that was an oversight on my part. But going back to a previous comment that I talked about earlier, I do think that introducing Minerva as a potential love interest for Clementine could have balanced this out. It's just I didn't write that into the story. So again, maybe one day we'll do a remaster and we'll take a look at how I could improve it. Number 7, Carver wouldn't like Joan much. She would accept him and he would try to take her out. I also do think, looking back, that Carver and Joan probably would not have lasted that long. I think it'd be kind of like a season 4 Governor Martinez kind of deal. She would let him in, as the commenter said, and then he would try and usurp her. I do still like the idea of Carver finding her after A New Frontier though, after Richmond Falls, and just like seeing her a mess and then kind of taking her in a similar way to her taking him in. Now he's in the position of power. But I don't know how long after that she would survive. I think Carver would be working toward her demise. All right, number 8. This is a big one. And the last comment is just absurdly wrong. And I have a major problem with people defending the actions of very clearly evil characters. So I'm going to be a little cut and dry and kind of harsh with this one. If you think about it, Carver wasn't really a villain. The people at Howe's are just jerks. He only started killing the ski lodge people when Kenny killed one of his, and he never really did much bad other than that. He did beat Kenny, but he had his reasons. They were planning to get all of his people killed. And all he did to Sarah was teach her about abuse. So before we reply to that, someone reminded them that Carver killed Reggie in a following reply, and they replied, he had a reason. Reggie had like 10 chances and screwed them all up. Killing him was a bit extreme, but Carver had his reasons. Alright, so now that we've gotten the full quote done, let's go ahead and look at this piece by piece. So when this comment says the people at Howe's, I'm going to assume they mean the cabin group or Carver's dudes. For Carver's men, obviously Troy beats on children, he's racist towards Sarita, and he also seems to enjoy taking people from their homes and forcing them to live at Howe's, where they have to do slave labor lest they be killed. The rest of Carver's guys are mostly just complacent with all these things, but I would say Troy is a villain at the very least. As for the cabin group, if that's who they're referring to, they wanted to be free from Carver's rule, and Carver attempted to hunt, kill, and kidnap them, so yeah, they're gonna be kinda mean to Carver. In regards to Carver only killing people at the ski lodge after Kenny fired first, yeah, that's true, but it leaves out the fact that Carver sent Bonnie to coerce them out of supplies and then physically assaulted Carlos before rounding everyone up in a hostage situation so that he could kidnap all of them. Yeah, Kenny is gonna shoot first if he has the opportunity to save his friends and Clem's group from someone who was doing such evil acts. And just because Carver and his group didn't fire guns at them first, doesn't mean that they're not reprehensible. They didn't need to fire a gun, they just captured everyone and beat Carlos. Saying he beat Kenny because they were planning to kill all of his people is not even true, because the original plan was to have Luke get them an opening to escape, as in not kill all of Carver's people. And even when they do escape, they kill Carver and Troy, who both try to force everyone back into their prison. That's it. I guess there's also the guy that Alvin shoots because he gets shot first. Other than that, the group just mainly wanted to escape, with the main exception being Kenny, who wanted vengeance, but that was against Carver specifically. Okay, so then we've got forcing a father to beat his daughter is not teaching Sarah about abuse, and guess what? Carver's way of doing things was part of what traumatized Sarah, leading to her potential death if Clementine doesn't save her. So congrats, your abusive lesson about abuse led to the girl dying. The comment about killing Reggie because he made the mistake of not forcing Clementine to do double the work she was meant to, I mean, okay, bro, I guess that's justified. I guess you could just kill people for that. And saying Carver didn't do much else is absurd because of all the things I just covered. He also took Alvin for the sole purpose of beating on him if he doesn't just straight up murder him. He also said that he would put a bullet in Rebecca and her baby before he let her leave with his child being Rebecca's baby. This is not a good person. This is not a morally gray person. This is an evil person driven by his own ego, spite, vengeance, and corrupted sense of order. Carver is a villain, and to say otherwise is absurd. But that is going to wrap up this episode of Post-Mortem. Really just some like big comments on this one. I think this one will be probably the longest episode so far. But I mean, it makes sense. I think this series was really cool for what it was, and it had a lot of possible issues that could be fixed in the future, but also a lot of people misunderstand Carver and other characters, and it's just like a lot of things to address, and I thought this was a pretty cool continuation. As always, a huge shout out to our members from the Walker tier, all of which are on screen now. We also have the Survivor tier, Elliot Plug, Davisville 84, Aiden Kern, Zombie Warlord, Chief Stater Constituent, and Tifu A. And lastly, our Christian Man tier. Willie, Marco Caldwell, Very Classy Demon, 23 Days Later, Biara 1, Heliopelio, Coda Cole, Bad Opinion, Bashua, and Octavio Monreal. If you want to have your name read out at the end of the video and also get access to awesome perks like early videos and exclusive community posts, then definitely make sure you become a member using the link in the description. But as always, tell me if you like this video, comment your requests for future videos, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.